Sylvester Stallone's roles in the Rambo and Rocky films have made him an icon in the action genre, and it looks like he's bringing the same interesting flavors to Tulsa King. But this time, it looks like he's breaking the typical stereotypes. On that note, let's look at how Sylvester Stallone's Tulsa King breaks the mold for mafia bosses. We'll also look at Max Casella's thoughts on the series being Stallone's best work since Rocky. To start with, Tulsa King brings something new to the table.
Not exactly the welcome I was expecting.
Business first.
How is business?
In Tulsa King, Sylvester Stallone plays a mafia boss who has just been released from prison after 25 years. It's clear that a man who has been away from the world for so long will have trouble getting used to how things have changed. But Tulsa King does a great job of capturing this spirit, with Stallone as the person who has to deal with the changes. The problem, though, is that getting a Mafia Capo, who's a product of his own time, to easily change is not something that can be done in a flash. Tulsa King takes a different approach to play Stallone's character Dwight, the General Manfredi, on his way to becoming a mafia boss after spending 25 years in jail for a murder he didn't commit. This is definitely different from the many mafia movies and TV shows that we're used to seeing. Coming up, Sylvester Stallone's zest brings an interesting quality to the series.
Depends on what you're looking for. We got gummies, actual flour.
This series isn't about a man who rises through the ranks of the mafia to achieve glory. Instead, it's about a mafioso who knows what to do to build a strong criminal empire, but doesn't know how to do it because he's in a place that's very different from where he usually lives. Already renewed for a second season, Tulsa King is a great show to watch because of the fun situations its dangerous main character gets into. It's also clear that Stallone's charm and stardom come through in Dwight's the General Manfredi. Tulsa King gives the story of the rising mafia boss a new look, and the best part is that it's told in a crazy way. Breaking stereotypes about mafia bosses one at a time, it's clear that this latest show from Taylor Sheridan knows what it's doing. What's more, Manfredi's background isn't the same as your local criminal.
Only states legalize this stuff. You put that money in the bank, and the feds will have it by morning.
Like the main characters in most mafia stories, Manfredi is not a guy from the streets who's trying to work his way up to the top of the criminal underworld. He's a 75-year-old veteran mafioso whose life in the mafia and time in jail has made him tougher. After spending a third of his life in jail to protect his boss, Manfredi is looking forward to a royal welcome when he gets out. But he's disappointed when Don Charles, the son of Manfredi's boss, quickly tells him that his reward for celebrating a silver jubilee in jail is a trip to Tulsa. This is also where he must set up a new base for the family. Manfredi knows that there's money to be made in New York, so he knows that the best offer is just a banishment away from where the real money and action is. Followed by, he's very different from other mafia protagonists.
Well, follow this.
I'll call the police.
In the first few episodes of Tulsa King, Manfredi has a hard time getting used to the new rules. You see, for a man who hasn't seen the outside world for so long, going outside after such a long time is almost like being born again. As Manfredi learns about the power of credit cards and the internet, he does a lot of exploring. He opens a bank account and learns how Uber works, among other things. Even though Manfredi still likes to stick to old ideas like cash is king, he's smart enough to use the tools he has to his advantage. After all, if you have a criminal record that goes back to before the Beatles were famous, you have to be street smart to stay alive. It looks like Manfredi changes with the times, but he still holds on to some good ideas from the past. Let's look at how a change of scenery goes a long way.
It's a TV show before your time. Had a lot of dry cleaners. Not important. What's important is you get that money.
To make things even more confusing for Manfredi, he has to move from New York to Tulsa, which is the opposite of everything that New York stands for. By going to Tulsa, the show has already set itself apart by avoiding the city that has been the setting for almost all of the famous mafia movies, from The Godfather to Goodfellas. Seems like Manfredi must not only adjust to the changing times, but also to the customs of the land. And before he can start building his empire, he has to figure out what the unspoken rules of the time are. The best part is that Manfredi acts like he's the boss of the town even when he has no idea what he's doing. And in a place like Tulsa, confidence gets things done. Even though Manfredi, a mafia boss in his 70s, didn't want to move there, Tulsa turns out to be a blessing in disguise and lets him start over with little to no trouble and at his own slow pace. And in a city that doesn't seem to know how the mafia works, Manfredi's arrogant behavior leads to pretty hilarious situations. Lastly, Sylvester Stallone allows Manfredi to flourish. You see, like most mafia movies and TV shows, this one doesn't rely on the story to create an atmosphere around the main character. Instead, the lead actor's charisma and charm make him a good choice for this job. This lets the creators take any kind of silly approach. This is because we might not pay much attention to the story's events, but will always be interested in the man in the front. At a time when many mafia stories feel like they use different amounts of the same ingredients to make a dish, Tulsa King makes something really enjoyable by not sticking to the formula. Also, even though it's not clear if the series will be able to keep up the success it's had so far, it knows what it's playing for, and because of this, the crime drama doesn't feel limited by what has come before. Just like Dwight Manfredi, Tulsa King knows what happened in the past, but he doesn't mind taking a lesson or two from the present as it shows a mafia boss of today. And by doing that, it finds a main character who isn't a typical mafia boss, which is great. And now let's look at Max Casella's thoughts on Tulsa King. First up, Max Casella has been a fan of Stallone since his Rocky days. Max Casella has worked as an actor since he was 12 years old. Recently, he talked about his latest show, Tulsa King, and what it was like to work with Sylvester Stallone. Max said that Sylvester worked harder than anyone else for sure, to the point where he would even show up on set knowing his lines and his fellow actors' lines. He also said Stallone was a pretty fun guy to work with because he's super respectable and he knows when to crack an occasional joke to keep everyone having fun at all times. It looks like Sylvester was his hero when he was young, and according to Max, he was just like how he thought he would be. Max also talked about the show and his role in it. He said that the show has already been picked up for a second season and that he's very happy about it because it's the most fun he's ever had on a show. Up next, why Stallone's character is so well played. What we know is that Taylor Sheridan built the series around Sylvester Stallone, while primarily focusing on his strengths and his legacy. Tulsa King is made for the tall, broad-shouldered actor, not just for his acting skills, but also for his ability to surprise. There's no denying how strong Stallone is, and the series uses his strength briefly, with more fights and brawls sure to come. But there's a difference between standing out and attracting attention. Most of the time, Dwight acts like he's just like everybody else. He acts like there's nothing unusual about what he's doing, even when his presence makes everything else a little strange. Part of this choice is based on Dwight's personality. He has to say he's just a normal guy to keep the police from suspecting him as he sets up a criminal business. And part of it helps keep the show's mood light. But one of Sly's specialties is acting innocent. This goes all the way back to Rocky Balboa, a rough and tumble brawler with a heart so big that Adrian and 3 pets can find it. Tulsa King has a heart of its own because of the way the star acts, like he doesn't know anything, isn't afraid of anything, and sometimes gives in to his real feelings. Finally, Stallone talks about how comfortable he is with the character. As the actor gets older, he seems to not only accept his age, but also accept himself. It just so happens that this is one of the main reasons he switched to TV. And it seems like together, Stallone, Sheridan, and Winter have made a smart, funny, and thoughtful mobster with a good sense of humor. Stallone has said he wouldn't be interested if the character was still an angry or broken down old gangster. He said he's been the main character many times. He can be as dark as you want, but he would rather be something else. So he likes being in this series because he thinks it's nice to see a guy who doesn't want to hurt anyone. Stallone also talked about how easy it is to play Manfredi and how much of himself is in the character. Apparently, this is exactly how he is at home with his wife and daughters. He thought it would be a nice challenge to play a gangster who's like your friendly uncle. You don't know what he's like until you push his gangster button. It seems like this difference is what really drew Stallone to the part. He gets to show off the laid-back, funny parts of his personality more than he has in the past. He also enjoys the fact that showing these sides of himself is new territory for him. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think about Sylvester Stallone's role in Tulsa King? Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. We'll see you in the next one.